Chris Ward, can I say, today you look especially enlightened. What
Thank you
can
very
you
much.
enlighten us with today, please?
Well, first of all, on a Merry Christmas and Merry Christmas to all of our viewers. So I thought we'd have a little bit of a Christmas treat this time around. We'll have two spots of entertainment. We've done some heavy duty stuff in recent times. Our last update was very theoretically based, so we're going to go focus more on the entertainment factor, but with a little bit of theory thrown in. So we may well have two games. We're going to have the main game and another Christmas, not so much kind of gift, more like a cracker. You know, the thing you get in a cracker, which you
The
might suddenly get a
Nutcracker, yeah.
keychain. You get a keychain, think that is just what I needed. Maybe sometimes you click at things you don't want. Maybe sometimes you actually locate it under the sofa 6 months down the line. But the fact is, we've got two games today. So,
All
you ready?
right. Roll. Let's
Right,
roll.
we are black, of course. That's the good guys. In the Sicilian Dragon, and here we go. Guess what? We're back to the normal Yugoslav attack.
Such a
However,
mainline.
some of you will wonder, wait, what was White doing here? Prioritizing bishop c4 rather than queen d2.
True, I've
'Cause
seen
we know,
this a couple of times in recent games against me
and
as
you've
well.
wondered, well, most of the time, to be absolutely frank, it will just transpose. However, bing, queen e2. This is the first time we have seen this move on the side. And I love that, the way, is this serious? This was a favorite move of the Swedish Grandmaster, Johnny Hector, actually played this. He had a few games against me. I have to admit, I never really understood what it's all about. You got to say to yourself, what on earth is this queen doing on this square? Surely the queen wants to be here where later on in the day it can facilitate bishop h6 to try to remove the dragon bishop. It does have an advantage, yep, sure thing. It does prepare castles, queens, and it controls the c4 square, which most of the time we like to see black maneuver a knight there in order to facilitate maybe a doubling of the rooks. Anyway, things are slightly different. So there's a couple of downsides. One of the downsides is this knight becomes a little bit shorter of squares. For example, it can't retreat here. So let's continue. Black here played knight a5. Of course, bishop d7 was possible as well, but knight a5 hits the bishop, and the idea is it doesn't occupy the e5 square, so this move could be played if we're looking to embarrass this knight later in the day. And here, this was a move I'd never seen before. White just calmly castles, so this might have been preparation. And now we look at this and say, wait a minute. Is this a good swap if Black just takes that bishop for the knight? Is it a good idea to take that? Well, it's definitely a possibility. I would have thought, for example, you could take off knight takes bishop, queen takes, and then maybe just go for a6 and b5 and expand. That seems perfectly reasonable. But in this game, Black played queen to c7, attacking the bishop, and the bishop dropped back to b3.
Oh, now the knight really has little space left.
Yes, it really has little space. It does, of course, have this cheeky little square b5 at the moment, which would, of course, if we went e5 now, knight b5 would attack the queen and win the d6 pawn. But for that reason, actually, you have moved up in leaps and bounds on. I probably would have thought bishop d3 would more fit in with the system. But White played bishop b3 and Black played a6. So craftily now, of course, guess what we're threatening to do? Everyone's following this. They're with us every inch of the way. The pawn is threatening to go to e5 to attack that knight. So White now says, queen d2. And you can say, wait, was that a spot of triangulation with the queen? No, it was just going side to side. But you did lose a tempo. But you could argue, has the black queen come in the way where the rook likes to be, where we would like to do our little exchange sacrifices? That's one argument. I'm not sure I really buy it myself, but the position still seems equal-ish. We're in the middle game. Let's see where it takes us. You were going to say something very inspirational there, weren't you?
Yes, in very recent World Chess Champion games, Ding Liren won his recent game, and he actually maneuvered his queen around like 12 times in a row with just back and forth and left and right, and like dancing moves. You should know.
Yeah, I appreciate that, actually. Yeah, I can find that in Salsa dancing. I do the whole dance. I think, what have I actually achieved? I just ended up where I started, pretty much. Now, and that's what's happened with the Queen here. It's just ended up where it should have gone. But the World Championship has a little tangent there. You flick that in. Yeah, that's a point, a historical point of reference when people are watching these videos back in 20 years' time. We have been following a World Championship match, which was exciting to start off with. Then it's kind of dulled out a little bit, and now it's got exciting again. So all to play for there, and all to play for in this particular game as we see Black now expand on the Queen side with B5. And White now says, I've been faffing around for a bit too long. It's about time I got on with my own attack. H4. We know what that's all about. H5, prize open the H file, swap off the dark square bishops. And from White's point of view, checkmate down the H file. B4, attacking that knight, which hops in to D5. Now, I don't think Black's next move was absolutely compulsory. I do believe it would have been perfectly acceptable to swap off this here and then put their knight into C4. But let's see what happens in this game. We take on B3, and now is the decision time for White. Anna, I am going to put you on the spot with a multiple choice question, but there is no option to phone a friend on this particular occasion.
No.
So,
can I take the 50-50 joker, maybe?
In fact, it's actually 50. You could take with the C pawn, but I'll claim that was an illegal move. And so I'll just say I need a new host for this show.
Gotcha.
So which way would you take? Would you take back with the pawn on B3, or would you take back with the knight? What do you think White should do here?
Oh, that is such a great question. So I do... let me quickly try to calculate. Of course, if you take with the knight, my immediate idea would be to escape with the queen to A5, which is not possible when the knight is there. If the pawn is there and the queen can still go to A5, question is just now, how much damage can she do? I think from what I've learned...
With all this escaping business you're talking about,
yeah.
Presumably you're referring to the knight attacking the queen, yeah?
Of course.
But don't forget the knight's also attacking this E7 pawn here.
Yeah.
But if we were going to stop that, we would have to swap this guy off anyway.
Aren't we threatening mate? No.
Ah, you mean A takes B3?
Yeah. So
Queen A5, and if knight E7 check, King H8.
Yeah. So in this case, this is only the thing I calculated. I saw. So I think taking with the knight is better.
Man, I was hoping you were going to win this one. I suspect taking with the pawn's better, but we're going to see. I might be proven wrong.
I was so close.
You were so, honestly, you were really close. Knight takes B3. Now, the problem with that is, let's just see what happens now. I take on D5, E takes D5. And the problem is that is just so provocative, because now our A pawn can roll down the board to attack that knight.
That's ugly.
And you can already begin to see the plot. Let's hope that knight isn't going to end up where we think it might be ending up. So White says, too late. I've got to get on with my own little plans here. Bishop H6. I'm going for checkmate down the H file. Let's see if we can swap off those bishops. And Black says, hey, here we go. That was the problem with sticking your knight on B3. The pawn goes to A4. And where on earth does this knight go to now? This is a very, very good question. So, well, in this game here, the knight goes to A1 because White decides the knight is going to be a defender of C2 where the problems were emerging, and White is just going to carry on with their attack down the H file. But here is my advice for the day: don't put your knights in the corner.
What? Isn't it the strongest square for every knight?
I'm going to tell you, don't. Well, we're not even going to go into knight. The fact is, don't put your knights in the corner of the board because they're never really very good there. However, if White was delivering checkmate down the H file, they would say, who cares about a knight in the corner? That's completely irrelevant. Now, let's see what happened. We have a trade of these here. So, options. I must admit, it feels tempting to play A3 here and upon B3, put our queen down there. That would be quite a good square. I don't think that would happen exactly. But I like this next move anyway. Bishop to F5. And this is such a visual game. I just love this game.
Oh,
okay.
nice.
It cheers me up, games like this. Bishop F5. Now, the idea is that, as we've seen in in lots of games in the nine castles d5 variation, often the bishop goes here because it does two jobs. It can attack on c2 and it can defend laterally, potentially recapturing on g6 with the bishop to protect the h7 square. And white goes, what do you think you're doing? Go away. I don't want you on edge at f5 at all. But has black done it just to create a little weakness to provoke g4? Absolutely not. Bishop takes c2.
That's
Time
the
for a
spirit.
sacrifice, of course. And you can say, well, was that really wise? Because not only have you given up a bishop for a pawn, you also allowed the knight to come out to play. But of course, the idea is now we can follow up with pawn to b3, threatening queen takes c2, checkmate. Wow.
Merry
So white
Christmas,
needs to do-
everyone.
White needs to do something about that. Merry Christmas. Absolutely. Rook d2 here. And can you guess black's next move? Press the pause button, everybody, or do what you need to do to look at this, because this next, I love this game. I don't know why. But anyway, let's keep going. So what do you think about this next move? Yeah, we could, of course, just snuffle that knight back, couldn't we? And,
No.
we could even take the pawn on a2, threatening to get a new queen because the knight's pinned. That's probably not so bad. But then the king could go to d1, the knight would cover a1. We can't go queen takes knight because the king would recapture, and then the rook on h1 would be covering a1. Did you follow that piece of analysis?
Easy.
So, are we ready for the real move? Do you want to unleash it on us, on, or would you rather?
Well, I would have gone for taking on a2 and get a knight. But now let's get to the real stuff.
Again, it doesn't really matter whether you get a knight or a queen. It's going to be taken in that particular instance.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But, wait, hang on. Can I just see what you were talking about? So you wanted to go ba, king
I was
d.
just kidding.
Okay, yeah, that's good. The knight,
But
you already will
so, well,
Yes.
how about a3?
Oh my word, you are an absolute genius. You're teasing us all along there with the. Well, I see what you were doing. You were replacing a white knight in the corner with a black knight in the corner.
Only
would have
to
been the
annoy you
ultimate.
because you just said don't put the knights into the corners.
Strictly speaking, if you promote a pawn into the corner, have you put it there? I know it's there. I'm not really sure. That's semantics.
Higher levels,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Right, but look, you are absolutely right. A3 occurred instead. Oh my word. What is going on here? This is completely crazy.
Beautiful.
So, do we need to chat about what's going on here? Well, each pawn can take each different way at this particular moment in time. That seems to be one obvious problem. Now, let's just see here. The big difference is this. And now let's look at the big difference, which is if in this position white was to play a takes b3, we get that same running pawn that we had before. But the difference is now it's supported by the rook, courtesy of the a file becoming open. So now after the runner, we can simply make a new queen, and this would be a skewer. So we'd, of course, be winning the rook. We'll be emerging a whole rook to the good. Pretty handy. So after a3. So that's what happens in that particular case. So instead, any other ideas? Supposing white says, whoa, look, I think I need my king over that. So to just kind of like unpin and offer some, something to take should black try to get new queens. But then we have b takes a2 check. And if he tries to duck out in the corner now, king a1, now we can prise it open again. And now we can bring more pieces. And the king can't really hide there because it's just simple checkmate. Oh dear. So what are we going to do? What's he going to do in this position here? Well, in this particular game, he played b takes a3. White played b takes a3. And black rook takes a3. What I hear you ask is going on here? Well, of course, this rook can't be taken because it's kind of like still the knight is pinned. And of course, we're looking to take on a2 with anything, either the b pawn to get a new queen or the rook to add threaten all sorts of things. So now here, let's just see here. If white was to take this pawn here, a takes b3, I guess there's a number of pretty good moves available, including skewers and such like rook a1, or even the cool as a cucumber queen c3 looks pretty handy as well. Threatening rook a1 mate, or even just after king d1, rook a1, and the skewer comes back into play again. Actually, in fact, after king d1, we've got another. Forget skewers. Let's do forks, in fact. with check. Pretty good. So what actually happened after rook takes a3? The king went to d1. I'm trying to, and the rook took on a2, and now in this position, White had enough. They threw the towel in at this moment. Quite right as well. There's skewers, the knight if moves, everything. There's a new queen coming around. Wowee,
Yeah.
that was pretty neat. Did you like that? Did you like that game, Arno?
Very much, very much. Especially the pawn move to a3 was quite
That pawn to
cute.
a3. That was, look at that. Let's put it back on the board again. That is quite snazzy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the moral of the story basically is the not to stick your knights in the corner, and the queen e2 variation probably sucks, to be honest with you. So let's go. So don't do that. Now, that's if you're white. If you're black, of course, which we are a little bit biased over here towards the black side of the dragon. So by all means, white players, keep playing it. Now, we're moving on to the next game. Now, this is like the tree in the cracker here. Now,
Oh my goodness.
this is a blitz game, so it is a fast-paced game. That's why it's a cracker tree. But it features Alexei Shirov,
Yeah.
one of the all-time legends of the chessboard, and playing with the black pieces, one of the all-time dragon legends. So how could it be? Well, look at this. Oh my word!
This is amazing. And
And
this
it
just
also-
happened recently, right? Yeah.
Well, no, actually, to be honest, I've held this game back for a little bit.
see.
If you guys here, while we had other things, I knew theoretically it features a move that neither player saw, that our readership, viewership, whatever we're called here, are going to see it, and they're going to. This is great. Okay, and I'm going to test you when we get there. So let's just see. So for the time being, are we ready for action? Yes, of course we are.
Let's roll. Oh, what's that
have-
opening called?
Yep, I think we know, and we know that this time no faffing around with that queen e2 malarkey. It's queen d2.
Shirov knows his stuff.
Yep, it knows his stuff. Castles, queens, and we have the main line variation here. D5, e takes d5, knight takes, and do you know what? We get the absolute old main line here. We know quite fashionable, and I can tell you, as we're moving, it probably the next time we see everyone, it will be 2025. And as we end 2024, I am actually quite pleased with the theoretical state of the dragon as it sounds. And I'm pretty happy now that after bishop takes, queen b6, blacks are doing absolutely fine with this. This was kind of like the fashionable approach these days. But even the main line, the old main line, e5, is standing very reasonable. Now, bishop to c5.
Yeah, I like this more, the old line a little.
Yeah, it keeps more pieces on the board. It makes it much more complicated. And that's what I've tended to play in more recent times. And the idea is here that, well, we've been over it before. We won't do it again. That actually taking this rook is quite risky because then the dragon bishop will really come into play and the two black bishops pointing towards the white king. So white plays knight e4. This is all mainline theory, rook e8. And this is where we had this a few times on the site where white just goes h4. And then black has to kind of decide between h6 or h5 because they don't want to allow that white pawn to come down to h5. They do not want that f file open. However, in this particular game, Shirov played more of a sideline. He chose the move g4. So the idea of g4 here is to dissuade black from playing f5, which black does like to do if in the lines where they can open the dragon bishop and get some pressure against b2. It also means that white might put this pawn on g5 to grip this f6 square, equally preventing black from playing f5. So we have g4. The problem with this line here, it allows black to play this move here, which is absolutely fine, knight f4. Because if we have queen takes queen, if we have a trade of queens on d8 here, although black will retain these isolated pawns here, of course, white is a little bit weaker as well. Black has got a nice outpost for the knight. And the d5 square, which I have to talk about, is a valuable asset for the black pieces. So Shirov said, no. Not having that, not having the queen swapped here, which is absolutely fine. And of course, those that are doing their little calculations might know after queen takes queen, rook e takes queen, rook takes queen, rook takes queen. This pawn on a7 isn't really up for grabs because black could just go rook a8 and then take the pawn on a2. So anyway, in this particular game, white chooses. So queen takes queen is just an equal position. But here, white played queen to c3. So that now keeps the queens on the board and unleashes an attack against the black queen. Now, here we have, this is great, a move that black could have played here that neither player saw. And to be fair, not a lot of people have seen this move since the planet began. Okay?
What the
So
heck? Now I'm curious.
you are very curious. So there's a very good move that black could have played in this particular position.
Okay.
It's not checkmate, it's not game over, but it would emerge with a clear advantage for black had they played this move.
Wow. Okay.
Very difficult.
Okay. Out of a
It's very
sudden, I
difficult.
see a couple of more moves because I thought like there's only like one or two moves,
Yeah, so you're
but
thinking
it's not true.
basically, what are you thinking? You're thinking stick a piece on d5, yeah, or maybe nudge the queen to c7 or somewhere to connect the rooks along the back. Yeah, we're all happy about this. Okay, well, stay tuned because in this position, both players missed this move. Bishop h6. What a cool move that would have been. Leaving the queen on prees, because after rook takes queen, let's pop it on the board. After rook takes queen, there's knight e2 double check. Yep, not one check, but two checks. The king has to move. Then we can take the queen again with check, and then we can take that when netting the exchange. How cool is that move there?
Very sexy indeed.
Bishop h6. So theoretically, this game is not important anymore because actually had bishop h6, that just would have been a good move. Now, to be fair, okay, he doesn't have to do, I mean, what else could have happened? Bishop e3 could have blocked the check, but then knight d5, funnily enough, again, is going to win material because look at this. After rook takes queen, we have another intermezzo. Knight takes a2 check, then take back, and again, we've won the exchange. Very cool. So,
you
yeah.
didn't even take the knight. My goodness, I just see that.
No, that's why we had this bishop on this diagonal.
Yeah.
Yep, and so that's all. And the knight, of course, will not or should not get trapped there. And of course, we've got this check threatened as well at the moment here. So bishop h6 would have been such a cool move here. But I'm going to continue this game because it is just bonkers. But we won't worry too much about the precise move from now on. But it's again wonderful entertainment. So we just, and don't forget, this was, to be fair, this was a blitz game. Yeah, we got to cut them some slack. So instead, black put the bishop on d5, which seemed like a very natural move. And in particular here, I like to talk about the concept of natural moves because although blitz games, you think, well, come on, really? At least they're playing. Their moves are not based on calculation. It's judgment moves really a lot of the time. So I like that. So the bishop went to d5. White carried on h4 to go with their kingside attack, and black said, no, we're putting a stop to that, and the pawn comes to g5. So the black king might be safe now from the h4, but of course there is a big hole there on that f6 square. The queen came up to d7, connecting the rooks along the back rank and potentially going queen e6. And now we had another little mistake, which the game is lovely. White played king b1. Can you spot a simple move that black could have played here? If only they stuck to my number one top tip. Do you remember what my number one top tip is, Anna? Please don't let me down.
Always look for knights on the last
No,
corner.
you
no!
did that
Wait.
on purpose.
Checks.
Always look out for checks. You little teaser. So always look out for checks. And if black had looked out for checks in this position, guess what move they would have seen? You've got it.
Of course.
Bishop takes a2 check, discover check, attacking the rook on d1. But let's sweep that under the carpet. And instead, that's the only check. No excuse in my opinion. Queen e6 was played, attacking the a2 pawn, and white said, no. b3, let's block that up. So black says, now I'm going to go a5. It's kind of like we've got the dragon on the other side of the board now. We're black doing the things that white normally does. So a5 going for, and white says, no, that pawn shall not pass. So we've got a fair amount of symmetry going on there. However, after that moves, that leaves this point a little bit tasty, that point there, a little bit weak. So rook e b8. Now, of course, we're threatening, by the looks of it, to go bishop takes b3 and crash through on b3 with the rook, winning the white queen. So White said, no. King A2, I'm offering a little bit of support over there. And this next move is just this is what I love this game. If you just played over it quickly, which you did, it looks so entertaining, and it is. Because next up, Black played the snazzy move, Rook B4.
I saw it.
You were going to say that, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Exactly. Do you want to go back and edit it so that you've got
Let's go back. I'll edit it in as if I am the king of the show now. Yeah.
Good idea. Okay. Rook B4. So what does that move do? Well, the first thing it does is put the rook completely on prise. But the other thing, of course, it's trying to do is take that pawn on A4 because this pawn is pinned on B3. So White says, well, okay, I better have that. I'll have that there. Bishop takes rook. Pawn takes. And queen takes pawn here. So now, what is it that Black's really done? Well, the cavalry's coming into the attack. The dragon bishop, hello, did you forget about me? No, we didn't. Bishop F8, but of course that leaves the big hole on F6, so White said, I'll have that check. Now, whoa, you could say here, what's going on? Queen takes, why? You could say, why not just queen takes F6? Well, if queen takes F6 in this position, with the idea being to take that queen, we all start giving our queens away. That he gives his away, and then we could win that pawn. But after bishop C4, Black will win back the exchange. But you know what? I think this outside pawn could be a problem here in the endgame. So that is not how the game went.
No, hopefully
Instead, Black chose to move their king to G7, and the white queen is currently under attack. Had to move somewhere, and of course it can't move anywhere that's actually going to be able to protect that A4 pawn. So the queen went down to B7. So let's just take stock of this position. White's got 6 pawns, Black's got 5 pawns. So White is the exchange and a pawn up, but no longer a pawn up, of course, because we get to play rook takes A4 check, and the king comes to B2. Wow, it might be tempting to put that bishop on A3 check, but let's not forget our rook is currently attacked here. So the rook now moved instead to B4, hitting the on B7 and bringing back into play bishop takes B3. Well, the queen's got to move somewhere, and I think actually, if it had come to D7 here, Queen D7, I think Bishop takes B3 would still have been played. Actually, let's just have a very quick look at that. Bishop probably this was the best move. Bishop takes. We could get a swap of queens, but actually, after Bishop C5, I think this is quite a favourable endgame for Black because he's got super active pieces, and of course Bishop E3 check is just one massive threat in this position. Anyway, after rook to B4 attacking the queen went to A8. So the queens are staying on. And now let's not forget that this bishop is now pinned to a checkmate on G8. But yes, you're absolutely quite right. We're going to crash through here on B3 because if White was to take that, I'm not even going to put it on the board. And you know, I like our little visualization sessions here. If pawn takes bishop, queen takes pawn check, and it's going to be queen B2 checkmate next go. That's coming up. Yep. No way you can deal with that. So White says, oh dear, I can't be doing that. I'm going to move my king out the way. King C1. Okay, the king has gone. No discovered checks available just yet. So the king goes to C1, and now Black plays rook A4.
Oh, I would have taken the pawn. No, I would have taken the
pawn. Oh, you would have taken the pawn. Yeah.
But rook A4 is a bit more threatening.
Do you know what? Oh, do you know what? I could tell you why taking the pawn. Right, you're going to see an idea now that what happens in the game, and you're going to see maybe not what happens here. Look at this, and maybe once you see what happens upcoming, you might change your mind.
Oh no, I'm seeing it. It is beautiful.
It is not just a game of one player in this game. There's more than one player involved in this game. But is there? Here we go. So rook A4. Where are you going with your queen? Well, if the queen just settles for B8, for example, then you would have check, and then here, and suddenly the pressure over here would be unbearable. The exposed king would be in a super duper pickle. But no, White says, I've got somewhere else to move my queen. Queen takes bishop check. Oh my word. But is this what it's cracked up to be? Well, We have to take that queen because like that's the only legal move on the board. So king takes f8, rook here check. Now we have a 50-50. We all know this type of checkmate. It begins with A. No, does it? What's it called? It's not Anastasius, mate. It's the other one. And it's slipped, mate. Can you be how embarrassing? Do you know what it's called with the rook and knight, mate? Like this?
I have no idea.
Oh man, this is. I feel totally embarrassed that I can't remember. But more important is not the names; it's to do with the fact.
I would say so. It's mate.
Anastasia's mate is where you sack the queen on h. You go knight
Yes.
h7, sack the queen on h7, and the other one is called the. Oh man, I feel
There's
like
so many mates.
Anyway, yeah,
it doesn't
so
matter.
they've all got names. So the fact is, the king came to e7, but this time this is not quite checkmate. Oh no, because the king can run, and now, yes, everything has smoothed down, and good news, the dust has settled. No longer checkmate for anyone, and we've ended up where we started last week, just with another little end game. So we'll just play a few more moves to the end of the game. Thanks very much. Simple chess, swap off some pieces, get to a winning end game, and in this position here, Mr. Shirov resigned. Black is 2 pawns. He might have lost on time, actually, one of the two. So the fact is that he's resigned or lost on time. Very easy winning end game for Black, and what a game of chess we had there. 2 good games of chess, I think, Anna. What do you think?
What a nice Christmas present you have brought to us, Chris. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for watching, for staying tuned to the show, for being involved, and hopefully engaging in all this dragon stuff which we're learning.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We see each other in January. Looking forward to this for another episode of The Monthly Dragon. Until then, all the best for you.